of mine for years. Jack Barron from Ontario, Canada, has been actively trying to stop chemtrails since before I was even aware of the practice. In the interest of full disclosure, I have a confession to make. In my early years as an activist, I used to steal material from Jack's website and post it on our Facebook page. I apologize, but he's still among the most theft-worthy activist experts I know. You can see the real thing at executivereasoning.com. His numerous videos are both informative and entertaining. Jack's strategy is to communicate with the police and other duty-bound authorities concerning the chemtrail spraying programs. Today he is going to disclose how inaction is criminal. All right, let's welcome Jack.
Hello, and I'm Jack from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'm not really accustomed to speaking. So I'm just going to start with a couple of little videos, and then I'm going to tell you how police are the only people to go to, and how they are actually committing criminal code offenses by not listening to you, and how they are liable and can go to jail today.
And we had 4 young people who went from the field. So you can imagine their age is around 20, 21, 22. And it's one of the best things that has happened to our parliament in years. I'm going to ask you to do one thing. I know you've got excitement ahead of you the next few days, but once you get down the road, I want you to consider why Canada is such a great, great country. It's because we take care of each other, look out for each other. So I'm going to ask you to do one last thing. That is question authority. Question people like myself when we make decisions in the parliament. Question people like Paul or even the school board. Your duty as a citizen is to keep an eye on your elected politicians to ensure that they're doing the things that are needed to keep this country's greatest expand. And when you go home,
So that's a portion of the one clip I wanted to show you. That is the question authority. That man is our member of parliament. He would be like a congressman or a senator. He's telling us the question authority. The next video. Welcome to Ontario. I'll just read that to you. The Police Services Act of Ontario says that the duties of a police officer is the police officer has the authority to act as such throughout Ontario. The powers and duties of a common law constable. A police officer has the powers and duties ascribed to a constable at common law. That means if they see something wrong, they can act on it and they don't need a warrant. The Supreme Court of Canada made a ruling and stated the common law duties of police have been described as the preservation of the peace, the prevention of crime, and the protection of life and property. I'll just keep letting this roll. Inspect all airports, air bases for deliveries. Make sure all aircraft are chemical free when they take off. And this is for the police to do. We can't do it. If we hop the fence at an airport, give it a try and we'll see how far you go. So we're going to put people with badges to do that for us. And I'm going to show you how. So I'm from Canada, and I want to tell you a little bit about Canada. Canada has a constitution just like every other country does. And I'm going to read law to you, and I'm going to try to make it as relevant as possible. Some of it I may say things that are seemingly unimportant, but I'm just going to start and going to get the picture. And as I'm reading stuff, I'm going to show different pictures and just okay. The Constitution Act 1867. It shall be lawful for the Queen, by the advice of Her Majesty's Most Honourable Privy Council, to declare by proclamation that the provinces of Canada, etc., shall form one Dominion, Canada. So that's through proclamation. We can make proclamations too. Executive power, declaration of executive power in the Queen. Section 9 of the Constitution Act. The executive government and authority of and over Canada is hereby declared to be and continue to be vested in the Queen. Now everybody says that she's a figurehead. I'm going to prove to you she's not. The Governor General or other Chief Executive Officer or Administrator to be carrying on the Government of Canada on behalf and in the name of the Queen. Section 15 of the Constitution Act. The Commander-in-Chief of the land of Canada and the naval militia and of all naval and military forces of and in Canada is hereby declared to be and vested in the Queen. Until the Queen directs otherwise, the seat of the government of Canada shall be in Ottawa. The Constitution divides the electoral districts. One of them is Ontario, where I live. And then they divide that further into other electoral districts called ridings. Ultimately, cities, West Toronto, East Toronto, Hamilton, where I'm from, Ottawa, etc. We've been politically designed. And for each province, now this is in the Constitution, and you have it similarly here in the United States, for the states. For each province there shall be an officer styled the Lieutenant Governor, appointed by the Governor General and Council by instrument under the Great Seal of Canada. Section 91, it shall be lawful for the Queen, by and the advice and consent of the Senate, and thus comes to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of Canada. So everything is the Queen so far. The Constitution Act 1982, the one that was amended about 25 years ago. Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, where Canada is founded upon the principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. And the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees the rights and freedoms set out in it, subject only to such reasonable limits prescribed by law as can be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. Fundamental freedoms. Everyone has the following fundamental freedom. A, freedom of conscience and religion. B, freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication. Freedom of peaceful assembly and freedom of association. Section 7 of the Constitution. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and the right not to be deprived of thereof, except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. And for one of your rights, or our rights, or my rights to be deprived, it has to be through a court order with my name on it. Everyone has the right not to be subjected to any cruel and unusual treatment or punishment. Now, this is in the Constitution. I would consider cruel and unusual treatment to be like being ignored when complaining about the spraying. That's cruel and unusual. Equality rights. Every individual is equal before and under the law and has the right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law. The guarantee in this Charter of Rights and Freedoms shall not be construed as denying the existence of any other rights or freedoms that exist in Canada. That would be like common law or any other freedoms and rights that we had before. Notwithstanding anything in this Charter, the rights and freedoms referred to in it are guaranteed equally to male and female persons. Now, I brought that one out because do we really need to say male and female persons? We don't really need to say male and female dogs. So persons is a very important term that some people will pick up on. The Charter applies to the Parliament and Government of Canada in respect of all matters within the authority of the Parliament. It just goes on and on and on some, not gibberish words, but the words that will take too long for me to read. And this is a really good one. The Constitution of Canada is the supreme law of Canada. And any law that is inconsistent with the provision of the Constitution is, to the extent of its inconsistency, of no force or effect. So if somebody is passing a law to spray you, and if spraying a civilian population is an inhumane act on a civilian population, and that by definition is a crime against humanity, well then that would go against the security of the person. Thereby the government would have to theoretically act on the criminal code offense of the crime against humanity, regardless of whether it's legal or not to spray people. The Canadian Bill of Rights. Very little attention has been given to this because it's been kind of taken and put into the regular Constitution. This was done in 1960, and the amendment of the Constitution was 1982. I'm just going to read you the Canadian Bill of Rights. It's quite good. The Canadian Bill of Rights is an act for the recognition and protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms. The Parliament of Canada, affirming that the Canadian nation is founded upon the principles that acknowledge the supremacy of God, the dignity and worth of the human person, and the position of the family in a society of free men and free institutions. Affirming also that men and institutions remain free only when freedom is founded upon respect for moral and spiritual values and the rule of law. And being desirous in enshrining these principles and the human rights and respect of Parliament for its constitutional authority, and which shall ensure the protection of these rights and freedoms in Canada. It is hereby recognized and declared that in Canada there have existed and shall continue to exist the following human rights and fundamental freedoms, namely the right of the individual to life, liberty, security of the person, and the enjoyment of property, and the right not to be deprived of except by due process of law. Due process of law is, again, a court order with your name on it, that they can spray you. the right of the individual to equality before the law and protection of the law. Every law of Canada shall, unless it is expressly declared by an act of the Parliament of Canada, it shall operate under the Canadian Bill of Rights so as to not abrogate, abridge, or infringe, or to authorize abrogation, abridgment, infringement of any of the rights or freedoms herein recognized and declared. And in particular, no law of Canada shall be construed or applied so as to, I'm just going to pick one of them, impose or authorize the imposition of cruel and unusual treatment or punishment. I'd say being sprayed is pretty cruel. So in our laws, we have protection. And I'm going to show you even more. You cannot deprive a person of the right to a fair hearing in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. And we really can't reach any of the police officers or any of the judicial system. So you can see right there, we are being deprived to be heard. Bodily harm. This is now, I'm going to be talking through the Criminal Code of Canada. It's a federal act. Bodily harm means any hurt or injury to a person that interferes with the health or comfort of the person, and that is more than merely transient or trifling in nature. I would say all of our comfort has been interfered with more than merely transient or trifling in nature. Therefore, this fits bodily harm. Canadian Forces, definition. Canadian Forces means the armed forces of Her Majesty, raised by Canada. It's not the Canadian People's Forces, it's Her Majesty's forces. Environment. Environment means the components of the earth and includes air, land, and water, all layers of the atmosphere, all organic and inorganic matter and living organisms, and the interacting natural systems that include components referred in paragraphs A, C. Everyone, person, and owner, and similar expressions include Her Majesty and an organization. You're going to see here that Her Majesty is quite well and alive in law. Her Majesty's forces means the naval, army, and air forces of Her Majesty wherever raised and includes the Canadian forces. So if Canada was to have a war with the United States, the almighty power of the earth, I'm going to tell you the United States would lose badly. Only because Her Majesty's forces are far-reaching all over the world through the Commonwealth.
Alrighty, back on track.
The Canadian Criminal Code also recognizes internationally protected persons, like a head of a state, head of government, even a member of family of them. So in the Canadian Criminal Code, mental disorder means a disease of the mind. In the Canadian Criminal Code, military shall be construed as relating to all or any of the Canadian forces, which are Her Majesty's forces. The United Nations is mentioned in the Criminal Code. That really doesn't show equal protection of the law. This is really interesting. In the Canadian Criminal Code, Section 5, nothing in this act affects any law relating to the government of the Canadian Forces. That means that the Canadian Forces are not subject to the Canadian Criminal Code. That means they can do whatever they want. Common law principles are continued, so therefore we can do what we need to do to stop the junk. Ignorance of the law by a person who commits an offense is not an excuse, that's Section 19. Parties to an offense, Section 21, everyone is party to an offense who actually commits it or does or omits to do anything for the purpose of aiding any person to commit it. And so by the police not answering to calls for help. In some way, they've omitted to do something, and they've aided the commission of a crime. I'm going to be skipping some stuff here because I have way too much that I can point out. Everyone is in the criminal code. Everyone who is required or authorized by law to do anything in the administration or enforcement of the law as a private person is, if he acts on reasonable grounds, justified in doing what he is required or authorized to do and in using as much force as necessary for that purpose. That would mean if you see a crime or a crime is about to be committed, as a private person, you can act on reasonable grounds and justify what you're doing and use as much force as necessary for that purpose. Everyone is justified in using as much force as reasonably necessary to prevent the commission of an offense. And the offense I'm going to suggest here is prevent a crime against humanity from happening. Every person on an aircraft in flight is justified in using as much force as necessary to prevent the commission of an offense. If it were committed, it would likely be to cause immediate and serious injury to the aircraft or to any person or property. So, theoretically, if you were on a spraying plane, you're justified in using as much force as reasonably necessary to prevent the commissioning of the offense. You're protected in the Canadian Criminal Code. Everyone who witnesses a breach of peace is justified in interfering to prevent the continuance or renewal thereof and may detain any person who commits or is about to join in or to renew the breach of peace for the purpose of giving him into the custody of a peace officer. I would say my peace has been breached ever since I saw the lines in the sky. I'm not sure about their breach of peace. Every peace officer who witnesses a breach of peace and everyone who lawfully assists a peace officer is justifying in arresting any person whom he finds committing the breach of peace, or who on reasonable grounds he believes is about to join in or renew the breach of peace. Well, a crime against humanity would be a breach of peace. A person is not guilty of an offense if they believe on reasonable grounds that force is being used against them or another person, or that a threat of force is being made against them or another person. Now, this gets really interesting. This is about Her Majesty. High treason. Listen carefully. Section 46 of the Canadian Criminal Code, high treason. Everyone commits high treason who in Canada, A, kills or attempts to kill Her Majesty, or does her any bodily harm tending to death or destruction, maims or wounds her, or imprisons or restrains her. So if you restrain Her Majesty, it's high treason. And that's 14 years in jail. Everyone who commits high treason is guilty of an indictable offense and shall be sentenced, imprisonment for life. So if we want to talk about equal protection of the law, if Her Majesty is restrained and that person goes to jail for life, then we should have that same protection if there is equal protection of the law. Obviously, it's not meant to be that way, but it's written in the code here. Prohibited acts. Section 49 of the Canadian Criminal Code. Everyone who willfully, in the presence of Her Majesty, does an act with intent to alarm Her Majesty or to break the public peace. 14 years in jail. Sedition. Seditious words are words that express a seditious intention. That's like being foul-mouthed. And that would be... Well, I'll just keep reading. No person shall be deemed to have a seditious intention by reason only that he intends in good faith to show that Her Majesty has been misled or mistaken in her measures, to point out errors and defects, etc., etc. So if you were to speak bad about the Queen, you have a way out because you're trying to improve. But if not, it's 14 years in jail. Everyone who willfully interferes, impairs, or influences the loyalty or discipline of a member of the force, meaning the Canadian forces, is it's a crime for that. And I'm going to suggest that the loyalty of those that work in the military have been impaired and influenced because they're not protecting us. They have planes that can go 18 inches close to an aircraft. So I would suggest that the loyalty of the military force has been impaired, interfered with, and influenced. Government is a definition of the Canadian Criminal Code. Government means Her Majesty in right of Canada or a province. Okay, so Government of Canada means Her Majesty. Every official who, in connection with the duties of his office, commits fraud or a breach of trust is guilty of an indictable offense. Well, when you read the Constitution Act and protection of the person, everyone has pretty much committed some form of fraud through breach of trust. Everyone who resists or willfully obstructs a public officer or peace officer in the execution of his duty, or any person lawfully acting in aid of such an officer. I would suggest that police officers have been willfully obstructed to do their job. Everyone who willfully attempts in any manner to obstruct, pervert, or defeat the course of justice in a judicial proceeding is obstruction of justice. Section 180 of the Canadian Criminal Code, common nuisance. Everyone who commits a common nuisance and thereby endangers the life, safety, or health of the public is guilty of an indictable offense and is liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. For the purposes of this section, everyone commits a common nuisance who does an unlawful act or fails to discharge a legal duty and thereby endangers the lives, safety, health, property, or comfort of the public, obstructs the public in the exercise or enjoyment of any right that is common to all the subjects of Her Majesty in Canada. I've been obstructed from enjoying my rights to have equal protection of the law. So have everyone else. Section 219 of the Canadian Criminal Code. Everyone is criminally negligent who, A, in doing anything, or B, in omitting to do anything that it is duty to do, shows wanton and reckless disregard for the lives or safety of other persons. Now, I'm just reminded of the video that Amanda had when she was speaking to the police officer. I would say that was a reckless disregard for what Amanda was saying. And so for the purposes of this section, duty means a duty imposed by law. And as we can see, the law guarantees the protection of the person. Some people talk about consent. No consent is obtained through the exercise of authority. I really like this section. That's section 337 of the Canadian Criminal Code. Public servant refusing to deliver property. So think of a policeman. Everyone who being or having been employed in the services of Her Majesty and Right of Canada or a province, or in the service of a municipality, and entrusted by virtue of that employment with the receipt, custody, management, or control of anything, refuses or fails to deliver it to a person who is authorized to demand it, and does demand it, is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 14 years. Is that understandable? You can put a policeman in jail for 14 years. Section 337, Canadian Criminal Code. He has to give to those who are authorized to demand it and does demand it. And if not, it's an indictable offense, 14 years in jail. Mr. Policeman, everyone who for a fraudulent purpose takes, obtains, removes, or conceals anything is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. Fraud. Everyone who by deceit, falsehood, or other fraudulent means, whether or not it is false pretense within the meaning of this act, defrauds the public or any person or any service. I've been defrauded for the service of police services. Everyone is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not more than 5 years, or is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction who, wrongfully or without lawful authority, for the purpose of compelling another person to abstain from doing anything that he or she has as a lawful right to do, or to do anything that he or she has a lawful right to abstain from doing. The lower level police officers are intimidated, and therefore we get intimidated. And so that is section 423 of the Canadian Criminal Code, intimidation. So I'm going to suggest that the police officers on the ground are being intimidated to not do their job. There's protection against internationally protected people, United Nations, etc. Section 467.11 of the Canadian Criminal Code. Every person who, for the purpose of enhancing the ability of a criminal organization to facilitate or commit an indictable offense under this or any other act of Parliament, knowingly by act or omission, participates in or contributes to any activity of the criminal organization is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years. So we're talking about omissions. Section 468 talks about crimes against humanity as an offense. Anyone may arrest without warrant a person whom he finds committing an indictable offense. And a crime against humanity is an indictable offense. A person who on reasonable grounds believes has committed a criminal offense. Anyone other than a peace officer who arrests a person without a warrant shall forthwith deliver the person to a peace officer. So anyone other than a peace officer who arrests a person without warrant shall forthwith deliver the person to a peace officer. So if I arrest you, I have to bring you to a peace officer. A peace officer may arrest without warrant a person who has committed an indictable offense or who on reasonable ground he believes has committed or is about to commit an indictable offense. An information may be laid before a justice by or on behalf of any person who fears on reasonable grounds that another person will cause personal injury to him or her, or to his or her spouse or common law partner or child, or will damage his or her property. A justice who receives an information under this section shall cause the parties to appear before him or before a summary conviction court having jurisdiction of the same territorial division. So if you bring in information to a justice, the justice will have both of you together, and then we'll create an order. Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes Act. Section 3. This act is binding on Her Majesty and right of Canada or province. So I don't want to hear anybody telling me that Her Majesty is a figurehead. Every person is guilty of an indictable offense who commits B, a crime against humanity. Every person who commits an offense, as I just mentioned, shall be sentenced to imprisonment for life if intentional killings form the basis of the offense, and is liable to imprison for life in any other case. So a crime against humanity, regardless, is imprisonment for life. The definition of crimes against humanity means torture, extermination, enslavement, deportation, imprisonment, torture, sexual violence, persecution, or any other inhumane act or omission that is committed against any civilian population. That would be the spraying. So that was the criminal aspect. Now I'm going to talk about the Police Services Act. These are the rules that govern the police in Ontario. So I would like to reach out to the police, because it's easy to want to bash them. But police, we need you. We need you to do your job. And here's your job. Section 1 of the Police Services Act. Police services shall be provided throughout Ontario, and probably your jurisdiction has the same wording, in accordance with the following principles. 1. The need to ensure the safety and security of all persons and property in Ontario. And better yet, the importance of safeguarding the fundamental rights guaranteed in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Human Rights Code. There you have it. The police have to protect what is written in the Constitution, and I have read what is written in the Constitution, and it is the security of the person. So let's go a little deeper. I've underlined here, so some of this is a little bit scattered, but the importance of respect for victims of crime and understanding of their needs. The need for sensitivity to the pluralistic, multiracial, and multicultural nature of Ontario society. And I would say that the pluralistic nature of Ontario would be truthers as well. Part 1, responsibility for the police services in this Police Services Act. It details Solicitor General. Well, the Solicitor General oversees the police. So now we have another person who's committing a criminal code offense. Municipalities. This is in the Police Services Act. Every municipality to which this section applies shall provide adequate and effective police services in accordance with its needs, and will and provide the following police services: crime prevention, law enforcement, assistance to victims of crime, emergency response, etc., etc. And then we have the Ontario Police, Ontario Provincial Police, which would state police here. They're named in the Police Services Act. And they provide police services in respects of the parts of Ontario that did not have a municipal police force. And then there's another group of people in the Police Services Act, the Independent Police review director. So there shall be an independent police review director who shall be appointed by the lieutenant governor. There's another person, top man. The lieutenant governor is like the queen of the police. And just so you know, they can monitor their police stations, and it says that if a police station is being investigated, the investigator shall not use force to enter and search a station or detachment of a police force. The oath of office for all Her Majesty. The Chief of Police has duties ensuring that members of the police force carry out the duties in accordance with this Act. And that would mean the importance of safeguarding the fundamental rights guaranteed in the Canadian Charter of Rights, which is protection of person. So the chief's duty is that too. He's not doing it. I've gone to the chief of police. Protection of the public, same thing for the chief of police. The duties of a police officer include preserving the peace, preventing crimes and other offenses, and providing assistance and encouragement to other persons in their prevention, assisting victims of crime, apprehending criminals and other offenders, and others who may be lawfully taken into custody, laying charges and participating in prosecutions, performing the lawful duties that the police chief assigns. A police officer in Ontario has the power to act throughout Ontario and has the powers and duties ascribed to a constable at common law. So if Amanda was over here stealing her keys from me, and that was a crime, a police officer can act in common law and not need a warrant. Criteria for hiring police. This is in the Police Services Act. Is physically and mentally able to perform the duties of the position, having regard to his or her own safety and the safety of members of the public, is of good moral character and habits. I can see that there's a lot of police that don't fit this criteria, and I'm not trying to bash the police, although it's easy to do. I want their help. So if, say, Virginia Beach Police had a problem, and say we were in Canada, and they called in the military, well, Virginia Beach Police would then pay the portion of the military that came here. So I'm just going to read the emergency part. And maybe this might seed some thoughts and actions. So I'm sure that the laws that I'm reading about here in Canada and Ontario are very similar to your laws and the laws everywhere else, because it's all based on preservation of life and property. In an emergency, the Solicitor General, so that's a person who we can have criminally charged also for failing, may make an agreement with the Crown in right of Canada or another province with any of its agencies of the province for police services. Expense of calling out Canadian forces. If the services of the Canadian forces are provided under this section, the municipality in those territories the services are required shall pay all the related expenses. Now, I've talked to police officers who said that dealing with an airport would cost way too much. And he's probably meaning that the military would have to be called in and they just wouldn't have it as a budget. So I'm going to ask and suggest that everybody get their municipality to call the military in so everybody can share the expense of paying for the military to do it, rather than one city alone taking the whole thing. Section 81 of the Police Services Act. No person shall induce or attempt to induce a member of the police force to withhold his or her services, or B, induce or attempt to induce a police officer to commit misconduct. No member of the police force shall withhold his or her services. Well, I would say they're withholding their services by you not being able to have a discussion with them about what you call a crime against humanity, which is what I would call a crime against humanity. So I'm going to suggest, and I don't want to do this, but the police are criminals and they need to be put in jail. And hopefully that they're listening to this and they need to realize that their duty is not to their commanding officer. Their duty is to the Constitution. Now, I really don't believe in a lot of the Constitution in terms of some of the stuff.
Did you put your ear with the
No, but oaths of office. I do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, her heirs and successors, so help me God. Now, you want to talk about a family that's got made for life? Here's something else about Her Majesty, too, the importation to Canada. This is the Customs Act. Subject to sections 2 and 3, any duties, fee, charge, or other amount owing payable under this act is a debt due to Her Majesty Queen of Canada. So that means if I'm crossing the border and I have to pay a duty, well, the duty becomes a debt due even though I never created a debt. It just is declared a debt. And that's the way they can collect by taking your car or house. The same goes with the excise tax. So in talking about misleading people, I'm going to read portions of the excise tax. And I'm just going to take words. For the purposes of this part, a person is a financial institution throughout a particular taxation year of the person. If the person is a bank, if the person is a corporation, if the person is a credit union, if the person is an insurer, if the person is the Canada Deposit Insurance Corporation, if the person is an investment plan, if the person is a corporation. So person, I'm really careful with that word person. It does not mean man or woman. Don't be fooled. The Interpretation Act, which is Her Majesty's way of trying to interpret everything. The law shall be considered as always speaking, and where a matter or thing is expressed in the present tense, it shall be applied to the circumstance as they are, so that the effect may be given to the enactment according to its true spirit, intent, and meaning. So, the Bill of Rights, Constitution, it's all there. We have it. You want to talk about ensuring the powers that be, to stay the powers that be, the Canadian Bank of Canada, the capital shares shall be divided into 100,000 shares of par value $50, which shall be issued to the minister to be held by the minister on behalf of Her Majesty. The Royal Canadian Mint, the shares of the Mint are not transferable, and when issued to the minister in accordance with this act shall be registered in the books of the Mint in the name of the minister and held by the minister in trust for Her Majesty. Human Rights Code. Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world, and is in accord with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as proclaimed by the United Nations. Here's another good one. The Civil Air Navigation Services Commercialization Act. This act applies in respect of every aircraft in Canadian airspace or any other airspace in respect of which Canada has responsibility for the provision of air traffic control services. This act is binding on Her Majesty and right of Canada. So guess who knows what every plane is? RCMP, that would be like your CIA. There shall continue to be a police force for Canada which shall consist of officers and other members and be known as the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Qualifications, good character. Every officer is a peace officer, and every part of Canada has the powers, authority, protection, and privileges that a peace officer has by law. And their duties are preservation of peace and prevention of crimes and offenses against the laws of Canada. Okay, so I've done that part. I want to show you some pictures and then I'll try to wrap it up right after that.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Did you show the other video? No. We'll show it at the end. He told me to yell out to him while he's speaking if he missed.
Okay, so these are the snowbirds. These are the show planes that Canada uses around the world. These are your planes. Let's take a close look. You see right there, top corner? That's a nozzle. Right there, that's a nozzle. And what does that nozzle do? It sprays. That's how they do it on aircraft. Okay? Brothers and sisters or cousins in the show, the nozzles are doing it. Nozzles, 2 of them. One for red, one for white, for the show. Nozzles, can you see them? Is it visible? One for red, one for white, in line with output exhaust. And so now I'm going to show you aircraft.
No, we gotta go right back. Let me show this one. We're gonna get one by one again. We're gonna show it.
One good one.
Okay.
That is on every plane. The wing has an engine. It's held by a strut, very short. The engine's here. The nozzle's in line with its output. So I could be more on how they get it in the aircraft.
Yeah, okay. We want Okay. All right, guys, that was Jack Barron. And as you can see, his information is extremely detailed. Now you see why I stole all of it and put it on my Facebook page. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and take a little hour break. We're right there in the meeting room next door, great area of central Pennsylvania. Maggie has been an activist since 2006 and has appeared on many of my radio shows along with Lynn Fawns and me. Speaking out against chemtrails, I also want to say hi to Lynn Fawns, who couldn't make it here. We were real sad that our best friend couldn't come. She's also fought the Dakota Access Pipeline, Monsanto, the anti-vaccine movement, and human rights. She's a mother of 3 beautiful children and has a strong passion to get youth involved in the anti-chemtrail movement. Please welcome Maggie May.
I am here today to represent the many voices that are not being heard. We cannot accept this destruction of our children's planet. See, this planet does not belong to us. It belongs to our children and the next generations to come. I refuse to let the future be filled with gas bags and only chemical-filled vegetation to feast on. Every day, I watch as our skies are filled with chemicals. They attack my sunrise and my sunsets, and I take personal offense to that. Vitamin D is being blocked as metals like aluminum and barium spread in the sky and rain down, harming our crops, destroying our soil, and poisoning our mind and bodies. I feel responsible for how we leave this planet. Some people are so normalized, they can't see chemtrails. They think it's natural condensation or just pretty little clouds. They do not know about Geoengineering U.S. Patent 5003186, a method of reducing atmospheric geoengineering warming to the greenhouse effect by cloud seeding tiny particles of metal to create reflections. Well, those tiny particles are harming us, and we have a right to know how to protect ourselves and to protect ourselves. And you know, other countries, they get sprayed with chemical sprays, and we react. But where is the reaction here on our own homeland? That's why I'm here. I feel responsible for how we leave this planet. We have to care about tomorrow right now, today, or the human race will become extinct. I refuse to be a test experiment for world bankers to profit off of pharmaceuticals because my skies are sick and it makes me sick. See, they want to control the weather just like they want to control you. And I am not one to be controlled. We are here to warn you, educate you, and awaken you to join us in the fight, not only to stop chemical spray, but to let us learn how to protect ourselves, our crops, our water, our children, by exposing your agenda to the public. A wise man said, an error does not become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. So this is the time. We have to correct this now before it is too late. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, that was beautiful. Next up is going to be our youngest speaker. This is a special treat, Miss Ksenia. She's 12 years old and she's an activist. She has been involved in the chemtrails movement since 2013 when she first appeared on my radio show when she was only 8 years old. Ksenia aspires to become an environmental lawyer when she grows up. She strives to help others understand their right to clean air, soil, and water. Representing the future generation, please welcome our youngest presenter, Ksenia.
I am the future generation, and I am here to speak about the dangers of chemtrails. The government is spraying me to control the climate. The lines stretch all the way across the sky. Some days there's a lot, then it spreads to make the whole sky white for the day. I may be small and young, but I see what is happening, and I miss blue skies and real fluffy cloud days. I don't want to live an artificial life. I want the earth restored with its original beauty. I don't think it's smart to mess with Mother Nature. Did you know that right now there are 20,000 species of plants and animals at risk for extinction? Did you know that in my lifetime of 12 years, there has been 11 animals to go extinct? This year we said goodbye to white rhinos, and in April of this year, they declared the giraffes will soon be next to go. If we are destructing the planet at this rate, people and trees will be part of this great extinction. I don't want to risk every breath I take. I want to live a healthy life, and it makes me upset to know that nothing is being done to stop this. I am a child, but can you hear me? Yes. I demand clean air and water. I deserve the right to live, chemical-free. You cannot take this right from me. We need to stand up together and take action now before it's too late. Thank you.
That was awesome, Ksenia. Thank you so much. Trying a little choked up here. Get it together, woman. Okay. Our next speaker is going to be Renegade Smith. Okay, he's an activist who fully woke up to the truth back in 2002 and promptly went on a mission to expose that which has been hidden from us. Renegade is an independent singer-songwriter who uses his music as a weapon for truth. He has been doing radio since 2012 and is involved in many Awakened radio shows, is involved with many other Awakened radio show hosts and fellow activists. He created Infinite Source Broadcast Network in 2013, and I've been lucky enough to appear on his show, The New Element. Renegade reached out to a friend, Sean Walden, aka Ninja Scroll, back in 2015 to be his co-host, and ever since, they have pursued the truth together on a wide range of topics. And on that note, alrighty, Renegade, you're up.
What's going on, everybody? Got some notes here to keep me centered. For the youngest speaker here, talk about some energy. Right there it is. I don't understand everything. That's awesome. We need more of that. We gotta wake our children up, because let me tell you something. Don't expect this system to do so. Don't expect this system to tell you the truth ever. Well, kind of what I'm talking about here. Well, a little bit about myself. I found out about this aerial assault pre-9/11, and I kind of blew it off. You know, I was like, okay, you know. He was saying last night it was smoke. I really didn't pay any attention to it. So, 2002, 2003, I was handed 5 DVDs. And people like cracking jokes about Alex Jones, I get it, but he was, you know, one of the people that kind of threw a little something out there for me to pick up and look at and run with. First DVD was Terror Storm. That was from him. That one angered me so bad through a TV remote. I couldn't believe the stuff that I was seeing, stuff that I was hearing. The next DVD was In Plain Sight, and it was pretty cool because years later I never thought this, but I was actually on a radio show with people who created In Plain Sight, a documentary. The next one was called The Nightmare and Dreams, I believe is what it's called. My introduction to the satanic world of the Illuminati. And that right there is, you know, I started jumping down that rabbit hole. And then the next 2 were Loose Change. And watching that was Loose Change 1 and Loose Change 2. And watching that, I was like, my word. I'm sitting here thinking, you know, these guys got overtaken by a box cutter. And this jet honestly crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. I am from Pennsylvania. And man, I felt like a fool. I felt like a fool. I felt betrayed. You know, I've often spoken about the levels of waking up. When you jump down that rabbit hole, you're kind of in shock by what you're seeing. Y'all feel that emotion when shock comes over you? Now, all depending on the person, this could be a little different, but after shock, you have the next level, which is kind of like depression a little bit, where you're like, man, I mean, and as you're getting into that rabbit hole, you start seeing all these things that are coming against humanity. So as that depression starts usually chipping away, because the anger is starting to set in. You get angry. Oh, I got furious. And then there was one day I said to myself, all right, you make music. I was told to make, you know, just a typical album. I said, I got all this knowledge now. I would only be doing the world a disservice if I came out with some nonsense album. So I started speaking truth in my music. That final level is going on a mission to expose and speak truth. And that's what many of us here today do all the time on a regular basis. Show of hands. How many have been called a conspiracy theorist? Ain't that fun? You're a conspiracy theorist. Yo, why don't you research that term before you call me this name? Know where it came from. So, that's one thing I like about the truth movement, as it's called, is the diversity in it. I don't have all the answers. My brain's only this big. But it's great to, I try to be well-rounded because we do a radio show. So it's great to run into people who are versed in other topics, way more than me, whether it be the deadly effects of vaccines, whether it be them poisoning our food through GMOs when they give us fake food from a company that creates chemicals. That blew my mind. There's just so many things that people are more attracted to. Geoengineering. That one got me because it's affecting the world over. You can't, if you want to smoke, smoke. If you want to drink, drink. If you want to snort Ajax on the weekend with your friends, you want to eat Tide Pods, have fun. It's on you, it's what you want to do. I'm not going to stop you. But we can't stop, but we can stop. But I didn't ask for this. Did any of you ask to be sprayed the stuff in the sky? No, you did not. It's being forced on us, like, well, many other things. So I want to play a little game. Who remembers Simon Says? Come on, kids. Simon Says, stand up. You stand up, right? Simon Says, take your left hand, put your finger in the nose. Right? Now that's fun Simon. That's a good Simon. There's an evil Simon out there. It's called this system. That Simon says, go to school. Get indoctrinated. Simon says, you can take your finger off your nose. Simon says, go to school. Go to school. Some people call them indoctrination centers. They're kind of hard. Then what are you supposed to do when you get done with school? Well, you can make that, when you get to that crossroads in your life, now should I go to, start a job? Or should I go over here and go to college or technical school and start my adult life off enslaved to debt? We can talk about student loans some other time, but yeah. Simon says to obey and comply. We are expected to do so. Simon, he don't want you thinking for yourself. Simon doesn't want you to question anything. You are to do as they say. What happens when we all start waking up? Start running your mouths, right? You want to, you're on that mission. You got that fire burning inside. Look at me right here with the microphone. You're doing radio, doing whatever you do. You start speaking out. Simon does not like that at all. You're not supposed to think for yourself. They're, look at school. They tell you what to think. They don't show you how to think. So, you get to that point, Simon's starting to scramble. He don't like people waking up. In the world of magic, you have to check out Penn and Teller, 7 Principles of Magic. World of Magic and Illusions. I was listening to that and I'm like, wow, this stuff really applies to the way these elites operate. Some illusions don't like doing what they do because they don't like to lie, so to speak. These people thrive on lies. A lot of us believe these lies until you reach that point. So there's 2 things that they do. For one, in illusion and magic, you have what's called misdirection. You lead someone over here, where you're showing your right hand, meanwhile over here, left hand, you're doing something else, but they're focused to that. Contrails, that's a contrail. How about this one, the new cloud formations? We all of a sudden got new clouds. You look at the thing, oh, those are chemtrails. Oh, but it says here they're contrails. I guess we're going to believe Simon, right? The next one is deception. Their whole thing with deception is to deceive a person. Basically tell them lies, correct? Their thing is it's a complex lie because it's made up of a whole bunch of different lies. It's quite sad. Me personally, I couldn't sleep at night if I was one of these people. It's just it blows my mind. So, with the deception, how many of you believe the government is here to protect us? Anybody? We have new takers, okay. That's great. What they want to do more and more is they want you to trade your freedom for a little bit of security. Now think about this. Think about this. How much freedom is in a maximum security prison? telling you, this is the thing. So, government, they can't protect us on some of these very basic levels. Our water, the very thing we need to live. If you watch that show, Naked and Afraid, they go 21 days without eating food. It don't take long to die off if you don't have water. So they're always scrambling for that water source. You've got to have that water. What's going on with our water? They're putting toxic chemicals in it. Here's some chlorine. Great. I just ruined the flavor of my water and put a chemical in it. Here's some fluoride. Oh, it's to protect your teeth. Believe that. That's sarcasm. Pharmaceuticals. It's another thing being found in water today. Here's one for you too. It's checking the weather. You can kind of believe that, I guess. And I'm looking and I'm like, what is this? What is this reading here? The Great Lakes, the drinking water, or people who make the beer, they're finding in the water what's called microplastics. Microplastics. And the funny thing is, they don't know where it's coming from. What are they spraying on us? You ever hear of Morgellons? These fibers that they showed a picture of was the Morgellon fiber. Those little fibers is a byproduct, and I did a show about that a couple years ago, and I was greatly disturbed. You ever hear of the Pacific garbage patch? It's a massive dump in the Pacific Ocean. It's all this plastic and tires and all this stuff that's just there in the Pacific Ocean. Fish are coming up, feeding off the particles of plastic that are, going down in the water. Plastic's something else too. I should have more time. I talk about industrial hemp. Our food. So the government is not protecting us with the water, okay? They don't seem to care. Oh, one more thing real quick on that. Good friend of mine named Judd. He does ground core samples. And when you're going down by Philly, you'll see all these look like baseballs as you're going down by the sports centers and stuff. These are gasoline-filled tanks. So they go in, roll down, pull a ground sample out. He said, as soon as you get down like 6 inches to a foot, this water starts coming up and looks like a rainbow. He goes, I go, well, what did you do? Well, did you tell the EPA? He laughed and he goes, they don't care. It's all about money. He says, do yourself a favor, don't ever go fishing on the Schuylkill River and definitely don't eat anything out that's coming out of it. Are they protecting us? The Environmental Protection Agency, we don't see nothing. We're just going to stand over here like this and we'll suffer and deal with this. So our water, the government's not protecting us from the poisoning of our water. I just turned the page to actually turn to, okay, our food. GMOs. I'm sure we all know what those are. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a chemical manufacturing company that now all of a sudden wants to make food. Pesticides. They are pummeling us with these nerve agents from, I guess, what, World War II? Microwaves. How many use a microwave? Shame on you. Do a little research on those. You don't want to use them. But you go out to eat, especially with these fast food places, and they hand you this nice warm burger. Well, it's put in the microwave to kill all the nutrients. All right. Last one. Are they protecting us in the air we breathe?
No. Not at all.
We have multiple pollutants. We've had the government even, I can't believe some of the stuff I was reading. They do love to do experiments on us without us knowing what it thinks when it's going in the skies. So in the air we have allergens that kick up due to weak immune systems. Because all this stuff that's going on, what we're not being protected from, is harming our immune systems. Greatly harming our immune systems. Allergies are huge with this. We have many other issues that are going on. So our air, chemtrails. You can, I know I can, on days that they are heavily pummeling us, you can smell it. You can smell it. It's disgusting to me. So, ours, we need sunlight. We need sunlight. How dare you take that away from me? For one, it creates natural vitamin D in your body, which has been proven to fight off big pharma's cold and flu. Yes, I did call it Big Pharma for all you people out there, because they own it. It fights it off. You need that sunlight, you need that natural vitamin D. It also helps with depression. You know, I love Pennsylvania, beautiful state, but I hate it in the wintertime. You always sit indoors, it's cold out, I can't stand the cold. But everyone during that time of year is inside, you're not getting that direct sunlight. Therefore, you get sick. You gotta get that sunlight. What are they doing? They're blocking it. They're put those lines down in the sky, and next thing you know, they're all bleeding together, you have this Milky Way haze up there. So, let's get back to chemtrails. How many of you have seen a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch? Raise your hand. No one? Okay. How many have you seen the Loch Ness Monster? Anybody? Raise your hand. No? Okay. How many of you have seen a ghost? Okay. Prove it. How many of you seen a chemtrail? Let's all go outside right now, because I just got a little bit ago, and I can prove to you that they're real. We're not chasing Bigfoot. We're not chasing the Loch Ness Monster. You can look out that door right now, and you're going to look up, and they are there. These things are not ghosts. They are not these hairy creatures running around the woods making funny noises and throwing massive boulders at you as you drive by. They are right there for you to see. And I don't get when people go into chemtrail. No, this stuff's not real. If you believe that these things are chemtrails, you have been conned. You have been fooled, you have been lied to. So basically, yes, we are under attack. We are under attack mentally. Give me one someone, raise your hand, or just blurt out, how are we being attacked mentally? Hell's gonna get there. Mentally, okay? Physically, we are under attack physically.
5G.
5G, smart meters.
My son has uranium, aluminum, cadmium, barium, strontium.
No, aluminum, everything.
Arsenic.
Lithium, red blood cells falling from the
When he
sky.
was 1.5.
Falling for fibers.
He had 6 times the average uranium in him.
Wow.
Wow.
So, mentally we're being attacked. I mean, you go to the indoctrination center, they're going to feed you a full bunch of nonsense. Some people don't know what is true. Some people think that red is blue. It's crazy. So, we're being attacked mentally, physically, and
Spiritually.
there you go. Big time. So you think about it, when I mentioned about the levels of being awake, the second one, depression, that hurts your soul. That hurts your soul. And all that negativity, that when you jump down that rabbit hole, everything that's down in there is so negative. It is so evil. From the God of this world, I'm not talking about Heavenly Father, I'm talking to the one that's here, the evil one. It will bring you down quick. Very quick.
What time is it now?
I don't know. Time for me to get a watch, right?
Sorry, I'm all into your speech right now.
17 minutes.
2:29.
You got 7 hours left.
7 hours. I need a drink. So yes, we are under attack, and it really, that's why we're all here. Because we want to speak out. You want to get the word out. You know, they say that we need the numbers. I like the people out there too that are taking this into the judicial system, trying to pass laws to stop these crimes against humanity. I consider chemtrails an act of terrorism. Would you not all agree?
Yes.
Like I said earlier, you want to smoke, you want to drink, you want to snort Ajax on the weekend with your buddies, eat Tide Pods, go for it. That's your choice. This is not our choice. So, to wrap this up, you need to know who you are, especially in a day and age when we are under all these levels of attack, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Especially when it comes to the mind. You're watching a television. They have what's called programming. Television, program. Television, hell-vision. They have this called programming. They call these things programming for a reason, because they're programming your mind. It goes back to these indoctrination centers that are telling you what to think, not how to think. So you need to know who you are, especially in this day of subliminal messages and everything else. Ninja School mentioned Project Blue Beam earlier. Lace in the sky with metals. A little projection going on up there. There's a lot you can do with it. Never waver. Like I said earlier, how many of you have been called a conspiracy theorist? Don't waver. Keep leading by example. And you know what? Don't let it break it down either. Because that's what the enemy wants. It wants you to shut your mouth and be timid and not take your stance, not stand your ground, not sit here and basically warn the world on all this poisoning that is going on. And finally, speak out. Do you see this shirt right here? If you do not like to speak, get something like this. Where's my brother David? Hey, come on, stand up. See it? There it is. That is called speaking out and not saying a word. You don't have to open your mouth. Sport some cool gear like this. You got it. So I want to thank Madison for inviting me. It's been an honor. It's great to actually get time to sit down and talk with people and get to know people. Laugh. Laughter is huge, especially in this negative times that we live in. Especially when you're in that rabbit hole. It's good to take that blue pill. We were talking about the blue pill earlier. So I just want to thank all the speakers here too. You all are doing an amazing job. And I applaud all of you. Keep speaking out. And let's change this corruption. Let's change this system of lies, this system of hoaxes, this system that is actually coming against humanity. And let's stop these crimes. We can do it. We have to unite as humanity. Should I drop the mic?